I'm Danny Kowalski, 48. For over 2 decades, I believed my 23-year marriage to Marta was solid, a life built on trust and shared dreams. That was the fundamental lie I lived. It all shattered Tuesday night, 11:47 p.m., as I pulled into my driveway. The porch light was off, as usual. Then Amelia, my daughter, stumbled out, her face streaked with tears, clutching a small digital camera. "Dad," she choked, "she's cheating on you. With Rick Patterson." That single sentence ignited a firestorm. How much can one moment unravel? In less than an hour, video files of Marta and Rick, hotel receipts, and a detailed plan to divorce me and take half of everything, laid bare the truth. My entire 23-year marriage exploded. Upstairs, Marta slept soundly, oblivious. Her expensive perfume still lingered in the air, a sweet, deadly lie she wore every day. Before I tell you what happened next, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story resonates with you, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Your lies end today. The truck's engine coughed like a dying smoker as I pulled into my driveway at 11:47 p.m. 23 years of marriage, and Marta still couldn't be bothered to leave the porch light on. The house sat dark except for the blue glow from our daughter's bedroom window upstairs. I'm Danny Kowalski, 48 years old, owner of Kowalski Auto Repair on the wrong side of Millfield, Ohio. This used to be steel country until the mills closed and left us with empty lots and broken dreams. My hands are permanently stained with motor oil. My back aches from crawling under cars. And my wife treats me like I'm something she stepped in. Marta works downtown at Hartwell Industries, climbing the corporate ladder in her power suits while I fix the cars of people who whisper about how she's too good for him. Maybe they're right. She's got the college degree, the 6-figure salary, the country club membership. I've got calloused hands and a business that barely keeps us afloat. As I grabbed my toolbox from the truck bed, our front door flew open. Amelia stumbled out. Her face streaked with tears, clutching something in her shaking hands. "Dad." Her voice cracked. "Thank God you're home." "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I dropped the toolbox and reached for her, but she stepped back. "I found something. Something about Mom." She held up a small digital camera. "I was borrowing her laptop for a school project and I found these files. Video files." My stomach dropped. "Amelia, whatever it is, Dad, she's cheating on you." The words hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. "With Rick Patterson from her office, and it's really bad." Rick Patterson. I knew the name. Smooth-talking snake in expensive suits who drove a BMW and lived in one of those glass condos downtown. Marta had mentioned him at dinner parties, always with that little smile that made my skin crawl. "How bad?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Amelia's hands trembled as she held out the camera. "There's a video from last Tuesday when she said she was working late. They're in his apartment and they're talking about you, laughing about you." The world tilted sideways. I took the camera with numb fingers. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I know it's sick that I watched it, but I thought you should know. She's been lying to all of us." I stared at the small screen. My finger hovering over the play button. 23 years of marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage, a life built on what I thought was solid ground. "There's something else," Amelia whispered. "In the video, they talk about leaving together. She's planning to divorce you and take half of everything. Rick's already got lawyers." The porch light from across the street flickered on. Mrs. Falco, our 70-year-old neighbor, peered through her curtains. Nothing happened in this neighborhood without her knowing about it. "Go inside, sweetheart," I said quietly. "We'll talk more tomorrow." "Dad, what are you going to do?" I looked at the dark windows of my house, at the woman sleeping peacefully upstairs while her whole family fell apart. I don't know yet, but I was lying. Deep down in a place I'd kept locked away since my boxing days, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I sat in my garage until 3 a.m. staring at that camera screen. The video was worse than I'd imagined. Not just the physical betrayal, though. That was like swallowing broken glass. It was the words. Dan, he's so pathetic. Marta's voice, breathless and cruel. Still thinks he's some tough guy from the old neighborhood. Doesn't realize everyone laughs at him. Rick's laugh was worse. How long until you dump the loser? Soon. My lawyer says I can get the house, half the business alimony. Poor little mechanic won't know what hit him. They went on like that for 20 minutes, tearing apart everything I thought I was, everything I thought we had. The physical stuff was just the finale to their little hate fest about my life. I'd met Marta at a community college night class 25 years ago. She was studying business. I was trying to get my GED after dropping out to help support my sick mother. She was beautiful, ambitious, and for some reason, she saw something in me worth saving. Or so I thought. The garage door creaked as I finally went inside. The house felt different now, like a crime scene. Every family photo on the walls looked like evidence of a lie. 23 years of birthdays, anniversaries, vacations, all of it built on quicksand. I made coffee with hands that only shook a little. The sun was coming up, painting the kitchen in soft gold light. Marta would be down soon, getting ready for another day of playing the devoted wife before running off to her boyfriend. At 6:30, I heard her shower start. Same routine for 20 years. Shower, hair, makeup, coffee, kiss on the cheek. Have a good day, honey. Except today, I knew it was all performance art. She came down at 7:15 looking perfect in a navy blue suit that probably cost more than I made in a week. Her blonde hair was pulled back in that severe style she'd adopted since her promotion. When did she stop looking like the girl I married and start looking like a stranger? Morning, she said, not looking up from her phone. Late night, truck trouble. I watched her face for any sign of guilt, remorse, anything human. Nothing. She poured coffee into her travel mug. I'll be late tonight. Big presentation tomorrow with Rick. Her hand froze for just a second, among others. Yes. Why? Just curious about your coworkers. She looked at me then, really looked, and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Calculation, like she was trying to figure out if I knew something. Rick's very talented, she said carefully. He's been a big help with the Morrison account. I'll bet he has. Well, give him my regards. Another flicker. Of course, she kissed my cheek, same as always. And I smelled her expensive perfume mixed with the lingering scent of lies. The front door closed behind her with its familiar click and I was alone with the truth. My phone buzzed. A text from my son Ross away at college. Dad, Amelia called me. Are you okay? At least my kid still cared. That was something. I texted back. I'm fine. Don't worry. But I wasn't fine. I was a man who just discovered his entire life was a joke. And everyone was laughing except me. Time to change that. Frank's boxing gym smelled like sweat, leather, and broken dreams. I'd been coming here since I was 16. First to learn how to fight, later to remember who I used to be. Frank Torino, 73 years old and still tough as nails, was wrapping his hands when I walked in. Danny boy, you look like heck. Feel worse. I grabbed a pair of gloves from the rack. Need to hit something. Wife troubles. Frank had been married 4 times. He knew the signs. She's cheating on me. Has been for months, maybe longer. Frank stopped wrapping his hands. You sure? Got it on video. Jesus. He sat down heavily on the bench. What are you going to do? I started hitting the heavy bag, letting 23 years of frustration flow through my fists. I'm going to destroy her. Danny, not end her. Nothing like that. The bag shuddered under my combinations. But she thinks I'm some pathetic loser. She can walk all over. She's about to learn different. Frank was quiet for a long moment. What do you need? That's why I loved Frank. No lectures, no advice about taking the high road. Just what do you need? Information. Rick Patterson works at Hartwell Industries. Lives in those condos on 5th Street. I know a guy who knows a guy. Give me a day. I hit the bag until my knuckles bled, until the rage crystallized into something cold and sharp. Marta thought she was playing chess while I played checkers. Time to show her I'd learned a few moves. That afternoon, I closed the shop early and drove to Hartwell Industries. The building was all glass and steel, reaching toward the sky like a middle finger to the rest of us. I parked across the street and waited. At 5:30, employees started streaming out. I recognized some faces from company picnics and Christmas parties. People who'd smiled at me while knowing my wife was making a fool of me. At 5:45, Marta and Rick emerged together. He was everything I wasn't. Tall, perfectly groomed, wearing a suit that cost more than my truck. They walked to his BMW, heads close together, laughing about something, probably me. They drove to Morello's, an upscale Italian place downtown. I followed at a distance, parking where I could watch through the restaurant's windows. They sat at a corner table, holding hands across the white tablecloth like teenagers. My phone buzzed. A text from Marta. Working late. Don't wait up. I took a photo of them through the window and texted back, okay, love you, too. The lies came so easily to her now. I watched them for 2 hours. Watched Rick feed her dessert from his spoon. Watched her laugh at his jokes with a joy I hadn't seen in years. Watched them leave together, his hand on the small of her back. They drove to his condo building, the Pinnacle. 30 floors of glass and pretension. I parked in the visitor lot and watched the lights come on in a corner unit on the 20th floor. My wife was up there in another man's bed planning my destruction, but I was down here planning hers. Frank's information was gold. Rick Patterson, age 41, divorced twice, child support payments to 2 ex-wives, credit cards maxed out, lease payments on the BMW 3 months behind. The successful businessman image was all smoke and mirrors. Even better, his condo was a rental. The building manager was Frank's cousin's kid, Tony Maroney, who owed Frank some favors from his wild youth. Rick's been bragging to everyone about his new girlfriend, Tony told me, over beers at Murphy's Tavern. Says she's going to leave her husband and they're going to get married. Real piece of work, this guy. What else? Buildings got security cameras, but they're mostly for show. Half of them don't work. And Rick's got a habit of leaving his spare key under a fake rock by the fountain. Saw him do it twice when he was drunk. I filed that information away for later. My first move was subtle. I knew Marta's routines better than she did. Every Tuesday, she got her nails done at Salon Bella. The owner, Mrs. Chen, was a gossip who knew everyone's business. I stopped by the salon on Monday afternoon with flowers. For my wife, I told Mrs. Chen. Tomorrow's our anniversary. Mrs. Chen beamed. 23 years, right? She talks about you all the time. Does she? I smiled sadly. What does she say? Oh, you know how hard you work. How proud she is. Mrs. Chen's smile faltered. She is happy, isn't she? Perfect. Mrs. Chen had noticed something. I hope so, I said quietly. Sometimes I worry she might be distracted by other things, other people. I left the flowers and walked away, planting seeds of doubt in the gossip network. By Tuesday evening, half the neighborhood would be wondering about the Kowalskis' marriage. Tuesday night, I followed Marta and Rick to his condo again. This time I went inside. The Pinnacle security was a joke. Tony had given me a key card for the service elevator and I rode up to the 20th floor like I belonged there. The hallway was empty, carpeted in thick burgundy that muffled my footsteps. Rick's spare key was exactly where Tony said it would be. I didn't steal anything. Didn't break anything. I just rearranged things. Moved his expensive cologne to the bathroom trash. Put his silk ties in the freezer. Switched his coffee with decaf. Small things that would make him think he was losing his mind. But I also planted something. A small digital recorder, voice-activated, hidden behind his bedroom dresser. If they were planning to destroy my life, I wanted to hear every word. I was back in my truck and gone before they even ordered dessert. The next morning, Marta was unusually quiet over breakfast. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine, just tired." "How was the presentation?" "Good. Rick did most of the talking." She paused. "He seemed off yesterday, distracted." I hid my smile behind my coffee cup. "Maybe he's got personal problems." "Maybe." That afternoon, I retrieved the recorder. 2 hours of audio gold. Rick complaining about his weird day. Marta, reassuring him. And then their detailed plans for my destruction. "The business is worth more than Danny thinks." Marta's voice was clinical, calculating. "I've been going through his books. If we time this right, I can get half of everything and he'll never see it coming." "What about the kids?" "Amelia will understand eventually. Ross doesn't care about anything except his video games. They'll be fine." "And Danny," Marta laughed cold and sharp. "Danny will do what he always does, sulk, drink beer, and eventually give up. He's not smart enough to fight back." "Wrong, sweetheart. Dead wrong." I spent the next week building my case like a detective. Photos of Marta and Rick together, credit card statements showing charges at hotels and restaurants during her working late nights, phone records with hundreds of texts between them. But I also started spreading the word. Mrs. Falco was my first target, the neighborhood's unofficial information hub. She knew everyone's secrets and wasn't shy about sharing them. I caught her getting her mail Wednesday morning. "Morning, Mrs. Falco. Beautiful day." "Oh, hello, Danny. How's Marta?" "Busy as always, working so many late nights lately." I sighed dramatically. "Sometimes I wonder if she's happy." Mrs. Falco's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. "What do you mean?" "Nothing specific, just she's been different lately. Distant, always on her phone, always somewhere else." I shrugged. "Probably just work stress." "Well, marriage is hard work," Mrs. Falco said. But I could see the wheels turning. "You have to communicate." "You're right. I should probably surprise her at the office sometime. Bring her lunch." "That's sweet." I walked away knowing that by noon, Mrs. Falco would be on the phone with her network of gossips, speculating about trouble in the Kowalski marriage. Thursday night, I made my move. I knew Marta and Rick would be at his place. They'd established a pattern. I also knew Rick's building had a gym on the 15th floor that closed at 10 p.m. I waited until 10:30, then took the service elevator up. The gym was empty, but it had floor-to-ceiling windows with a perfect view of the city, including Rick's condo 20 floors below. I set up my camera with the telephoto lens Frank had borrowed from his nephew, the one who did wedding photography. The angle was perfect. Rick's bedroom window, curtains open, lights on. They thought they were invisible up there in their glass tower. They were wrong. I got everything. Photos that would end Marta's corporate career and Rick's reputation. Nothing illegal. Nothing I couldn't use, just evidence of what they really were. Friday morning, I printed the photos at 3 different locations around town. Not to use yet, but to have ready when the time came. That afternoon, Rick called in sick to work. Food poisoning, Marta told me over dinner. Poor guy's been having the worst luck lately. That's terrible, I said, cutting my steak. Maybe he should see a doctor. Maybe. The recorder I'd planted in Rick's condo told a different story. He was paranoid, convinced someone was watching him, messing with his stuff. Marta was getting irritated with his paranoid delusions. Perfect. Let them turn on each other. Saturday morning, Amelia found me in the garage working on Mrs. Patterson's Buick. Dad, can we talk? I wiped my hands on a rag. What's on your mind? Mom's been asking me weird questions about you, about whether you've been acting strange lately. What kind of questions? Like whether you've been going through her stuff or asking me about her work, or Amelia's voice dropped to a whisper. She wanted to know if you'd said anything about Rick. My blood ran cold. What did you tell her? Nothing. I played dumb. But Dad, I think she knows that you know. I set down my wrench. How? I don't know. Maybe the way you've been looking at her. Or maybe Rick's paranoia is rubbing off on her, but she's suspicious. This changed everything. If Marta knew I was onto them, she might accelerate her timeline. Strike first before I could defend myself. Amelia, I need you to do something for me. What? I need you to act normal around your mother. Don't let her know we've talked about this. Can you do that? Dad, what are you planning? I looked at my daughter, 21 years old, caught in the middle of her parents' war. I'm planning to protect our family by destroying Mom. By making sure she doesn't destroy us first. Amelia was quiet for a long moment. She really hurt you, didn't she? Yeah, sweetheart. She really did. Then do what you have to do. Just try not to become someone I don't recognize. Too late for that, I thought. The man who'd trusted blindly, who'd believed in love and loyalty and keeping your promises. That man was dead. What was left was something harder, smarter, and a lot less forgiving. Marta wanted to play games. Game on. Sunday dinner used to be sacred in our house. Family time, no phones, no work talk. Just the four of us around the table sharing our week. Now it felt like a hostage situation. Ross was home from college for the weekend, and I could see him watching Marta and me, sensing the tension, even if he didn't understand it. Amelia pushed food around her plate, avoiding eye contact with everyone. So, Marta said, cutting her chicken with surgical precision. Mrs. Chen mentioned you stopped by the salon, brought you flowers for our anniversary. Our anniversary is in March. I know. I met her eyes across the table. I was thinking about how much our relationship has changed over the years. Something flickered in her expression. Changed how? Oh, you know, we used to tell each other everything. Now it feels like we're living separate lives. Ross looked up from his phone. Are you guys getting divorced? The question hung in the air like smoke. Amelia went pale. Marta's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Of course not, Marta said quickly. Your father's just being dramatic. Am I? I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I feel like I don't even know you anymore, Marta. Like you're a stranger wearing my wife's face. Danny, do you remember when we first met? You were so honest then. So real. What happened to that woman? Marta set down her fork. I grew up. I got ambitious. Some people call that success. And some people call it selling your soul. The temperature in the room dropped 20. Ross and Amelia exchanged glances. Maybe we should finish this conversation later, Marta said tightly. Why? We're all family here. I looked around the table. Unless some of us have been keeping secrets, Marta's face went white, then red. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know about Rick. The words dropped like a bomb. Ross's mouth fell open. Amelia closed her eyes. Marta went very, very still. I don't know what you think, you know. I know you've been screwing him for months. I know you've been planning to divorce me and take half of everything. I know you and your boyfriend have been laughing about what a pathetic loser I am. Marta shot to her feet. Kids, go upstairs. No. My voice was quiet, but carried absolute authority. They deserve to hear this. They deserve to know who their mother really is. You bastard. Sit down, Marta. Something in my tone made her sink back into her chair. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a manila envelope. Photos, I said conversationally, taken through Rick's bedroom window. Very artistic. You should see them. Marta's face crumpled. Danny, please. Audio recordings, your voice, his voice. Planning my destruction. Very detailed. Dad, Ross whispered. Credit card statements, hotel receipts, phone records. I spread the evidence across the table like playing cards. 23 years of marriage, and this is what it comes down to. Marta was crying now, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. I stood up, looking down at the woman I'd loved for half my life. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to pack a bag and leave tonight. You can go to Rick's place or your sister's, or heck, for all I care. But you're not sleeping in my house anymore. This is my house, too. Actually, it's not. The deed is in my name only. Remember? You were too busy with your career to deal with boring paperwork when we bought it. The look on her face was worth 23 years of lies. You can't do this, she whispered. Watch me. I turned to my kids. Ross, Amelia, I'm sorry you had to see this, but I won't apologize for defending our family. Ross nodded slowly. Dad, are you okay? I will be. Amelia was crying too, but she came around the table and hugged me. I'm proud of you. Marta looked at her daughter in shock. Amelia, no, Mom. Just no. Amelia's voice was still wrapped in velvet. You did this. You chose this. Don't try to make Dad the villain. I walked to the front door and held it open. Your bag, Marta. Now. She stumbled upstairs, came down 10 minutes later with a suitcase and her dignity in tatters. At the door, she turned back. This isn't over, Danny. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. She left without another word. I closed the door and leaned against it, suddenly exhausted. Dad. Ross's voice was small. What happens now? I looked at my kids, my real family, the only family that mattered. Now we rebuild. Monday morning, I was at my shop by 6 a.m. Working on Tommy Morrison's Camaro when my phone started buzzing. Text after text, all from numbers I didn't recognize. Is it true about your wife? Saw the photos. Sorry, man. Marta's a cheating hoe. You deserve better. I smiled grimly. Mrs. Falco's gossip network was more efficient than the internet. By 10 a.m., half the town knew. By noon, the other half had heard. Millfield was a small town, and scandal traveled faster than wildfire. My phone rang. Frank's voice was amused. Danny boy, what did you do? Just told the truth. Well, the truth's got legs. Rick Patterson called in sick again today. Word is he's getting death threats from some of your boxing buddies. I hadn't asked for that, but I wasn't complaining either. There's more, Frank continued. My cousin Tony says Rick's been making a lot of noise about moving out of his condo. Seems he doesn't feel safe there anymore. Shame. You want my advice? Strike while they're down. Don't give them time to regroup. Frank was right. Marta was smart, ambitious, and ruthless. If I gave her time to recover, she'd come back swinging. Time for phase 2. I drove to Hartwell Industries at lunchtime. The lobby was all marble and glass designed to intimidate. The receptionist was a young blonde who looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. "I'm here to see Mr. Dorsey," I told her. "About Marta Kowalski." James Dorsey was Hartwell's VP of Operations and Marta's direct supervisor, a straight-laced company man who valued reputation above all else. "Do you have an appointment?" "Tell him it's about employee misconduct. He'll want to hear this." 10 minutes later, I was sitting across from Dorsey in his corner office. He was exactly what I'd expected. Silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of man who'd never worked with his hands. "Mr. Kowalski, what can I do for you?" I slid a manila envelope across his desk. "My wife and Rick Patterson have been having an affair. These photos were taken in his condo. I thought you should know." Dorsey opened the envelope, looked at the first photo, and went pale. "Jesus Christ. There's more. Audio recordings of them discussing confidential company information. Seems Rick's been sharing details about the Morrison account with my wife." That was a lie, but Dorsey didn't know that. Dorsey shuffled through the photos, looking sick. "This is a disaster. I'm not looking for money or revenge," I said quietly. "I just thought Hartwell Industries should know what kind of people they're employing. Of course, thank you for bringing this to my attention." Dorsey was already reaching for his phone. "We'll handle this internally." "I'm sure you will." I left Hartwell Industries knowing that by 5 p.m. both Marta and Rick would be unemployed. My phone rang as I drove home. Marta's voice was hysterical. "You son of a witch. They fired me. They fired both of us. That's terrible. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to screw around. I'm going to sue you for everything you have." "With what lawyer?" "You're unemployed, remember. And good luck finding another job in this town." The line went dead. I smiled and kept driving. That evening, I got a visit from Rick Patterson himself. He showed up at my front door at 8 p.m. looking like he hadn't slept in days. "We need to talk," he said. "No, we don't." I started to close the door, but he put his hand against it. "Please, 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I let him in. He looked around my modest living room like he was seeing it for the first time. "Nice place," he said. "Cut the crap, Rick. What do you want?" "I want you to call off your dogs. I've got people threatening me, following me, vandalizing my car. This has gone too far. I didn't ask anyone to do anything, but you started it. Those photos, the recordings, you ruined our lives." I stared at him, this smooth-talking snake who'd helped destroy my marriage. "You ruined your own lives. I just made sure everyone knew about it. Look, I'm sorry, okay? I never meant for it to go this far. Marta and I, it just happened. Bees, nothing just happens. You made choices, both of you." Rick ran his hands through his perfectly styled hair. "What do you want? Money? I'll pay you to make this stop." "I don't want your money." "Then what?" I stepped closer and he instinctively backed up. 23 years of marriage had made me soft, but underneath I was still the kid from the old neighborhood who'd learned to fight in Frank's gym. "I want you to disappear," I said quietly. "Leave town tonight. Don't come back. I can't just sure you can. Pack your bags, get in your fancy car, and drive until you hit a place where nobody knows your name. Start over. Become a better man. And if I don't," I smiled and it wasn't a nice smile. "Then things get worse for you. Much worse." Rick stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. "You're not the man I thought you were." "No," I agreed. "I'm not." He left without another word. By morning, his condo was empty and his BMW was gone. One down, one to go. Marta lasted 3 more days before she came crawling back. I was in the garage rebuilding an engine when she pulled into the driveway in her silver Lexus. She'd been staying at her sister's place across town, but I could see the strain in her face, the cracks in her perfect facade. "Danny, we need to talk." "No, we don't. Please, I made a mistake." "You made a choice." I didn't look up from the engine block. Multiple choices over several months. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. She came closer and I caught a whiff of her perfume. It used to drive me crazy. Now it just made me sad. "I know you're hurt." "Hurt?" I finally looked at her. "Marta, hurt is when you forget our anniversary. Hurt is when you're too tired for closeness. What you did, that's betrayal. That's 23 years of marriage thrown away for a few months of excitement." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Help me understand how the woman I loved, the mother of my children, turned into someone I don't even recognize." She was crying again, but this time it looked real. I felt invisible, like I was just Danny's wife, not my own person. "Rick made me feel special, important." "I made you feel special for 23 years. "No, you didn't. You made me feel safe. Comfortable, but not special." The words hit me like a physical blow. "So, this is my fault." "That's not what I'm saying." "It sounds like exactly what you're saying." I set down my wrench and really looked at her. Designer clothes, perfect makeup, manicured nails. When had she become this person? When had the girl I married turned into this stranger? "I want to come home," she said quietly. "This isn't your home anymore." "Danny, please. I'll do anything. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. What I want is my wife back. The real one. The woman who used to laugh at my stupid jokes and didn't care that I had grease under my fingernails. But she's gone, isn't she? Has been for years." Marta's face crumpled. "She's still here." "I'm still here." "No, you're not. You're just wearing her face." I walked past her toward the house. At the door, I turned back. "The divorce papers will be ready next week. Don't contest them. Don't make this harder than it has to be." "What about the kids?" "What about them? They're adults. They can make their own choices about who they want in their lives. And the business, the house. The business is mine. Always has been. The house, too. You wanted independence so badly. Congratulations. You're independent." I went inside and locked the door behind me. Through the window, I watched her sit in her car for 20 minutes crying. Finally, she drove away. I never saw her again. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. Marta didn't contest it. She couldn't afford a lawyer, and every attorney in town had heard the story. She moved to Cleveland, got a job with a smaller company, started over. Rick Patterson disappeared completely. Some said he went to California, others heard Florida. I didn't care as long as he stayed gone. The kids handled it better than I'd expected. Ross graduated college and got a job in Chicago. Amelia transferred to a school closer to home. Said she wanted to keep an eye on me. "You don't have to do that, sweetheart." "I know. I want to." Mrs. Falco still waves at me every morning when I leave for work. The gossip network has moved on to other scandals, but I know they still talk about the Kowalski divorce sometimes. The story's gotten bigger in the telling. I'm either a hero who stood up for himself or a villain who destroyed his family, depending on who's doing the talking. I don't care what they say, I know the truth. 6 months after the divorce, I was closing up the shop when a woman walked in. Mid-40s, auburn hair, wearing jeans and a sweater that had seen better days. "Are you Danny Kowalski?" "Depends who's asking." She smiled and it was genuine. I'm Sarah Mitchell. My car broke down about a mile from here. AAA said you were the best mechanic in town. They said that, did they? Well, actually, they said you were the only mechanic still open, but I'm choosing to be optimistic. I found myself smiling back. What kind of car? Honda Civic 2018. It just stopped. I'll take a look. We walked to her car together, talking about nothing important. She was a teacher at the elementary school, divorced, no kids, new to town, trying to start over after her own marriage fell apart. Cheating husband? I asked as I popped her hood. Gambling problem. Lost our house, our savings, everything, she shrugged. Sometimes life kicks you in the teeth. The question is whether you get back up or stay down. Which did you choose? I'm here, aren't I? Her alternator was shot, but it was fixable. While I worked, she sat on a crate and told me about her students, her tiny apartment, her plans to get a dog when she saved enough money. What about you? She asked. Married, divorced, recently. I'm sorry. Don't be. Best thing that ever happened to me. She looked surprised. Really? Really? Turns out I was married to the wrong person for 23 years. Better to find out late than never. I finished the repair as the sun was setting. Sarah insisted on paying full price even though I had only charged her for parts. Can I ask you something? She said as I walked her to her car. Sure. Would you like to have dinner sometime? Nothing fancy, just dinner. I looked at this woman, honest, straightforward, real in a way Marta had never been, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. I'd like that, I said. She smiled and drove away. And I stood in the gathering darkness, thinking about second chances and new beginnings. Marta had wanted to destroy me, to take everything and leave me with nothing. Instead, she'd freed me from a marriage that had been dead for years. She'd given me back my self-respect, my strength, my future. In trying to ruin me, she'd saved me. The irony was perfect. I locked up the shop and headed home to my empty house that didn't feel empty anymore. Tomorrow, I'd call Sarah and ask her to dinner. Tomorrow, I'd start the next chapter of my life. But tonight, I was content to sit on my porch, drink a beer, and think about how sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. Marta had gambled everything on a smooth-talking snake and lost it all. She was alone in a strange city, starting over at 45 with nothing but regrets and what-ifs. I was here in the town I'd always called home, surrounded by people who respected me, with my children's love and a future that suddenly looked bright again. She'd played her hand and lost everything. I'd played mine and won it all.